As of November 15th, 2019, Halo will officially be an 18-year-old franchise, which means a few things, but the biggest thing is that Halo will legally be allowed to drink in bars across the world in some countries. So for those of us at a legal drinking age, be sure to grab a copy of Halo and down a few shots for the franchise. Maybe eat some pizza too, it's going to be a special day. But speaking of the franchise itself, Halo has really spread out over the years in different ways. We're talking novels, board games, comic books, short films, web series, toys, almost a movie, and so much more. But it has also been featured in a number of other gaming franchises in cool ways, so I thought that I would take a look at a couple that I was made aware of over the years.
Hey, Jala! Jala?
Let's start with the most recent and obvious instance of Halo creeping its way into a different franchise. Gears 5, which is hands down one of the coolest Halo crossovers that I have ever seen. Prior to launch, the Coalition announced that Gears 5 would ship with the Halo Reach character pack for Game Pass Ultimate or Ultimate Edition owners. The pack includes a meal and cat for multiplayer modes, as well as several cosmetics for weapons and flair. I'll admit that I love seeing these characters being brought back to life this way. It's added a whole new level of fun to Gears for me, and the models themselves look absolutely stunning up close. Even if you weren't a fan of the Reach character designs, you've got to admit that these models blend almost seamlessly with Gears 5. And in my opinion, it's hilarious to see Emil and Kat, who come from what is a relatively tame shooter with little gore, now in this universe where they can turn their enemies into puddles of bloody chunks, as well as get their own skulls caved in with the butt of a big beefy gun. The transition from moderate to extreme violence is a bit jarring at first, I'll admit, and I doubt that this is going to be everyone's cup of tea, but to be honest, I never thought that Microsoft would allow the Halo brand to be associated with that level of violence, but here we are, I suppose. Personally, I think it's hilarious. That being said, Gears 5 has had a bit of a rocky launch, but if you're already a Game Pass owner, you might as well try it out for the novelty of it alone. Something else that I would like to add to this, less important but still cool, I have to give the Coalition bonus points for going out of their way to secure the original voice actors. Alona Tal and Jamie Hector were asked to reprise their roles as Kat and Emil respectively, and it gives the pack a bit more authenticity that I appreciate. And speaking of things that I appreciate, I'm always down to see Halo community members get creative with games and assets, so I have to highlight the fact that GeneralKidd and a few of his friends recreated Kat and Emil's death scenes in Gears 5 in this video. You may have seen it floating around on Twitter, but I recommend checking it out at its original source on his channel. It's disturbingly accurate and pretty goddamn funny.
More Rakshi.
Obviously, Gears isn't the only franchise to feature Halo in a big or cool way, and next up we have the Dead or Alive franchise. If you're not familiar with the Dead or Alive franchise, in a nutshell, fighting game. After asking a few people I knew, I was kinda surprised to discover that some of them weren't aware of the full story behind this, and in some cases they weren't even aware of its existence. Basically, back in 2005, or 2006 depending on your region, Team Ninja released Dead or Alive 4 to the Xbox 360. However, prior to launch, Bungie were in direct communication with Team Ninja founder Tomonobu Itagaki. I apologize if I've butchered that name, please forgive me. Tomonobu expressed interest in having the Master Chief as a fighter in Dead or Alive 4, to which Bungie politely responded, "No." According to an old Bungie.net update published on December the 13th of 2005 by Frank O'Connor, the Chief was unavailable to fight because he was busy, fictionally speaking. Instead, Bungie created a brand new character named Nicole and had her put into the game. What's cool about this is that along with the ability to play as a Spartan in a fighting game, you also had this amazing Halo 2 themed stage that was, according to the old Bungie.net update, containing many assets from Halo 2. I guess this would explain why the map itself is on point for the authenticity and accuracy. It even plays the Halo 2 Mjolnir mix as you beat the snot out of each other. And best of all, Nicole isn't considered a skin to slap over a pre-existing character. She has her own moves. Team Ninja were apparently very interested in keeping this as Halo as it could be. So Bungie supplied the developers with moves and attacks that they felt would be fitting for a Spartan in-universe, and it shows. You'll have your standard kicks and punches, but then completely out of nowhere you'll be thrown halfway across the arena, or even beaten senseless before being stuck with a plasma grenade that does extra damage. But interestingly, that's not where the story ended. Team Ninja are famous for their Dead or Alive series, but they're also known for the Ninja Gaiden franchise. Gaiden, I'm not sure which one it is. Again, with the pronunciation issues, come on Japan, help me out here. Ninja Gaiden famously features the protagonist Ryu Hayabusa, and if you're not familiar with this franchise or have never played it before, you will likely recognize his armor better in the appropriately named, yep, you guessed it, Hayabusa armor from Halo 3. I'm not exactly sure if this was done as a form of cross-promotion or if it was born of a mutual respect of each company and franchise. If I had to guess, it was probably a mixture of both, with it leaning more on the mutual respect side. Either way, it gave DOA fans a kick-ass new character, and Halo fans a cool new set of armor that is now mostly associated with noobs. I still want it to come back though, but for real, 343, can we please get something going with Team Ninja again? Please?
I am 343, Guilty Spark.
You suck!
I beg your pardon.
I don't want to go too much into detail about this one because I might make a longer video both discussing and advocating its revival, but to keep it nice, neat and simple for now, Project Haggar was developed by the now defunct company N-Space and was, according to 343's Bonnie Ross, something we prototyped with our friends at Bloks that focused on the elements of action, exploration and user creativity found within the Halo universe. Haggar had a lot of fun ideas and invention behind it, but ultimately didn't progress beyond the early prototyping levels that are shown in the recent video. The recent video Ross is referring to was by PtoPOnline, showcasing early gameplay of the prototype build of the game. Speaking strictly for myself, I was so disappointed to see this, in a good way of course. I've always been interested in the concept of a more family-friendly Halo experience, and with how well the LEGO brand games have been performing over the years, I don't see why a comical take on the Halo franchise couldn't exist. At the time of this being leaked, I can remember two distinguishing sides. The first, like myself, who were both intrigued and disappointed at the leak and the unfortunate truth that development didn't go any further, and those who felt that this was pushing things too far, that Halo wasn't meant for kids, so we shouldn't be marketing it that way. I didn't get this take, and I still don't. Yeah, there were people that simply weren't interested in the concept, and that's fine, but here were people proclaiming that we shouldn't market the franchise towards younger audiences at all. The way I see it is simple. A lot of Halo fans out there right now aren't new to the franchise, they grew up with it. They're also adults now, likely with jobs and families of their own. If I had a kid and there was a Halo Mega Bloks game in the works, yeah, I'd be picking that up so I could play that with my child. It's just a game at the end of the day, but it looked so promising and I would have loved to see it get that chance at life that it didn't get the opportunity to have. But let me know if you would like a more detailed video on this topic though, because I would love to talk about it. And as a PSA, if anybody at all out there has access to a build of this game that they wouldn't mind sharing gameplay of, please reach out to me on Twitter and let's get something set up.
So fades the great harvest of my betrayal.
I always thought that it was weird that the Fable franchise got to dip its toes in Halo at one stage, but back in October of 2008 with the release of Fable II, it did. Fable II launched with two editions, the Standard Edition and the Limited Edition. The Limited Edition came with a few different pieces in relation to Fable as expected, but it also came with a bonus DLC code containing these very interesting items. Hal's sword, Hal's helmet, Hal's body armor, Hal's leg armor, Hal's boots, and Hal's gauntlets. Obviously, when you equip all this gear, you get yourself a nice little in-universe Fable version of Master Chief.
From this day forth, this citizen shall be known to all as Master Chief.
Ugh, that coat is horrible.
Now here's a fun fact for you. I loved Fable back in the day, and I always wanted that damn limited edition to get that nice Halo DLC. I was desperate to turn Little Sparrow into Little Chief, but to do that I needed to obtain a sealed copy of the limited edition in 2019, which, if you'll look on eBay, is pretty bloody hard and pretty bloody expensive. So, like the champion I am, I politely asked folks who owned said edition if they could provide me with some gameplay for this video. It was then that I found out that the limited edition DLC had been released to the Microsoft Store in 2014 for £1.69. To say that I was frustrated would be a colossal understatement. Now, as time went on for Fable 2's life, it had a few DLC packs. One in particular was the Knothole Island DLC, and upon completion of that, you could get your hands on Hal's rifle, which is basically the Halo assault rifle. Overall, this was a really great way to include Halo into a universe that is kind of the polar opposite of Halo. And if you were like me and you didn't know that you could get this until now, you might as well go for it just for the fun. There's been a large number of Halo references and inclusions in different media, but as I said, this video was mostly focused on the games. But sadly, that is all I have time for right now. Thank you for watching the video if you made it this far in, but before I go, I would like to thank my patrons including GamerChat, Jay Laughlin, Curry-chan, Rook, Sammy A. Nielsen, and Wolfric Productions. Once again, thank you very much for stopping by and watching. I am now going to go and slam my head into a cinder block.